Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to UploadVR's long-awaited VR award nominations announcements for 2020. I am Jamie Feldon, one of your hosts today, and with me is the one, the only David Jagno.
Thank you, Jamie. Long awaited indeed. I've heard the chatter online. Everyone has been clamoring to know our award nominations for 2020, and by everyone, I mean
since
like
the Oscars,
2 people on Twitter.
Since the Oscars got canned for the year, I really think everyone started looking to us, didn't they, and saying, what will they do? What moves will they do? I mean, we don't have to socially distance because we have this. We don't have an audience. We can just announce our big awards, and it's fantastic.
Hashtag defy distance.
Yes, that is exactly it. So we have 16 categories to go through with you today. Numbers of nominees ranging in each one. We kind of put who we felt deserved to be in there and didn't worry too much about a limit. So lots of nominees to get through, but we're gonna alternate them, and David's gonna kick us off with the first category. What do we got, David?
Oh. I'm rubbing my hands together, but you can't see because of the hand tracking problem here. I'll pretend. There we go. All right. So the first category that we're covering is most promising early access title. So this is a brand new category. We have not done this one before. And we are including games that may not have released in 2020. We are going to be covering basically all, any early access game that has made strides this year and is building towards something impressive is kind of what the category is for. So the 5 nominees for most promising early access title in VR are Zero Caliber, Phasmophobia, Blade and Sorcery, Stride, and Contagion VR Outbreak.
Woo.
Those are the 5 nominees.
Congratulations to everyone involved. I like that you said Stride when you were announcing the nominees there, and when you were describing the category. Very meta of you. Well done. Because Stride is right there.
I do what I can.
Yeah. I think this is an important category to have for VR because so much of the great PC VR content that we get to play every day, and most of the VR content that we keep coming back to, something like Blade and Sorcery, has been in early access for a long time. And yeah, I think it's really important that we recognize not only games that have been out in early access for a long time and are doing early access right, but some of the new titles that have come out as well that we wouldn't consider putting in best game because they're not finished essentially, but they show a lot of promise. So right. Games like Stride, right? And of course,
exactly.
huge year
and
for
I think
Phasmophobia.
Yeah, I was just about to say the Game Awards awarded. I think Phasmophobia got best debut game, and it's very well earned. I mean, that game has really just kind of exploded onto the scene, and it's crazy because it's such an obvious idea for a game, and so I'm really surprised that it didn't exist yet. Because if you're unfamiliar, the way Phasmophobia works is you are a ghost hunter, like this show on Travel Channel, Ghost Adventures, where you go into houses or prisons or different locations that are known to be haunted, and you go and collect evidence of paranormal activity. You have to get the ghost to talk to you, to manipulate the environment, to do different things, and you have to capture it and document it and identify what type of spirit it is. And it's an extremely tense and unnerving game. The atmosphere is fantastic. It has full optional VR support or flat screen PC, and it's just one person making this game, and they've done such a great job. It's really impressive. But all the games here are impressive.
Yeah, for sure. A big congrats to everyone. We'll have to come back in a couple of weeks to find out who wins. Let's move on to the next category, which I'll announce. And that is for most innovative VR design, which is another new category we're introducing this year, because we wanted to celebrate some of the ideas and mechanics and experimental features that lots of developers are implementing into their content that, is really pushing the boundaries of what you can do with VR. We all know that VR is really, really hard to make content for in general. So just, getting a game running in VR for a lot of people is enough. But we really wanted to recognize some of the developers that are going above and beyond. Again, it could be games that have already released and are getting new updates. Could be entirely new experimental games. Might not even be a game. Might be just like kind of a side quest demo or something like that. So the nominees for that are UploadVR 1.0, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners physics system, Waltz of the Wizard's hand tracking update, Handspace's hand tracking experiments, Half-Life Alyx's Russell gloves, The Room VR of Dark Matter, and The Under presents The Tempest. Lots of cool ideas in this nominee list. You can see them up here. VTOL is one that we're putting out there because it came out of early access this year, and is something that came out all the way back in 2017 originally, I think, and has been really updated all the way through its life to be a very immersive experience. So I think that's really important to get that in there. Obviously, Half-Life Alyx's Russell's gloves were, super intuitive and a really, really nice way of, I guess, crossing space in VR without having to like crouch down or get across an entire room just to pick something up. And then, of course, The Walking Dead's physics system makes it just unbelievably fun to play, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And to speak on VTOL real quick, I think that's a great example of a game that kind of it's almost a response to a common thing people bring up is they play flight games in VR like Star Wars Squadrons, and everyone always says, oh, it's not accurate enough to use motion controllers to control a cockpit. You have to have physical controls. Well, I mean, VTOL is a good example that while it's true, it's not quite as accurate. You can get pretty dang close if you're actually intelligent about the way you do your motion controls and the way you manipulate the cockpit controls. So that this is a flight sim that uses just your motion controllers. You don't need a HOTAS, you don't use keyboard, you don't need to use joysticks or game pads. It is just motion controls. So that's really impressive. And that one, I'm glad we were nominating that one. Waltz the Wizard, the hand tracking in that is just out of this world. It's incredible. It's such an impressive feat because the way that they do the hand tracking in Waltz of the Wizard, it really does give you that sort of hand presence the same way that the first Vive games I played with room scale gave me that sense of movement inside VR. It's really, really impressive, and it's not a full game. It's more of just a kind of play around sandbox, but it's just so cool. I think my favorite one is there's one of the things you can do is make like a like a devil horn symbol with your hands, and then your fingers grow and you pull back on a string like a slingshot. It's so cool. But yeah, all the games on this list are great.
Yeah, definitely. Handspace is you might not have heard of that one. That's a really cool side quest demo with a bunch of hand tracking experiments, which is a great little thing to show you what might be possible with the platform in the future. The Room VR is just such an incredibly tightly designed experience all the way through that feels innovative from start to finish, I think, certainly for me. And then the Underpresent specifically, we're talking about there, the new Tempest play that they launched this year and have been running at different points throughout the year, which kind of really shone live VR theatre in a new light. I thought brought it to the masses more than other experiments we've seen. So again, congrats to everyone on the list. This is a new category, and I think we're going to be having some heavy debates about what will be winning that one. David, take us to the next category, if you would, please.
Yeah, of course. Our next category is a sort of a renamed version of an award I think we've done every year. This one is Most Improved Social Platform. I think in the past we've done Best Social Platform, Best Non-Game Multiplayer, or we've had different names for it, but this year it's Most Improved Social Platform. We have 4 nominees. The first is VR Chat, specifically for their new avatar system and their visual scripting to make editing easier. Rec Room, which got ported over to Xbox, and they also have a visual scripting editing tools and lots of other updates this past year. AltSpace VR has become a destination for conferences and meetings, especially in the year of 2020 with COVID and everything. And finally, Big Screen. They had a really awesome green screen focused update that's made it a great tool for even like broadcasting and doing like capturing what feels like a human in front of a green screen sort of situation. So I mean, these are kind of the big 4 that come up every year basically, and I think anyone that's been in VR for any length of time is familiar with probably all four of these. One of the very first things I ever did in VR, or one of the very first things I ever wrote about in VR, back before I was at Upload, is I played a game of D&D inside of AltSpace. And so, I mean, AltSpace has been around for a long time, and VR chat's, VR chat's incredible. It is it's essentially the entirety of the internet condensed into a series of virtual worlds, and you can find all types of experiences there. I mean, it's an incredible melting pot. So it's really cool and impressive.
Yeah, and you're right that this is such an important year for this platform, because social VR has actually been, one of the only ways that people out there are actually getting some form of kind of face-to-face contact with other people. I want to mention VR chat as well, because as someone that loves doing like the VR film festival circuit and seeing what's new at like Sundance and Tribeca and Raindance and things like that, time and time again, those festivals have gone back to VR chat to make their own worlds and try and like replace some of the physical experience inside VR chat. And I think it's done a phenomenal job of that. Rec Room, of course, seeing just going from strength to strength every year. I think with the more platforms it comes to, the more features it introduces. It's been really, really great to see that platform grow for sure, especially as it becomes this kind of interesting integration of both VR and traditional media as well. And that, much like VR chat kind of raises awareness in VR in a way. So yeah, I think very strong category. Big screen, just such a cool idea. And they do such cool updates. The thing they do with the virtual cinema and, getting tickets, that's one of the first things where it really does feel like the virtual world is replacing the real world. And, you can't really go to movie theaters this year again, but big screen gets you as close as you can get right now, which is something really pretty incredible, I think. Cool. Well, let's move on then to the next category, which is Best VR for Fitness, another slightly renamed one from last year. As you can probably tell, this is all about VR apps and games that were keeping us fit. Again, a very, very important year for that, when we couldn't, go outside as much as we wanted to. Maybe some of us were looking at VR headsets as much more important means of keeping fit. So the nominees are Supernatural, the DLC for Beat Saber, VR Workout, Until You Fall, FitXR, and O-Shape, which is a pretty, excuse the pun, a pretty healthy list of games we've got right there, I think. Particularly like Xena choosing the BTS picture there for Beat Saber DLC. I wouldn't expect anything less. Thank you, Xena. A really, really cool year. It's been a very interesting year of experimentation for this category, because something like Supernatural, that's not, it's a Beat Saber clone first and foremost, but the way it's rolled out is that it's actually a $20 subscription a month. And I think that's a really, really interesting comment on how seriously people are taking VR fitness and how far it could go in the future. We had a lot of conversations back then about whether that subscription was worth it, but to their credit, it's kept going throughout the entire year. New playlists every day. They've added in new different types of meditation and things like that. So Supernatural, I definitely think, earns a spot on this list. Beat Saber DLC, of course, like I feel like Beat Saber might not be the most fitness focused of the apps on here, but certainly it's the one people play the most probably. It's Beat Saber, of course they do, but lots of people find themselves incidentally losing weight as they play that, which is just a fantastic thing to see. Same for Until You Fall, which I've been playing a heck of a lot of this year. And I really like playing Until You Fall when you're kind of fatigued and worn out, because it gives me real Lord of the Rings vibes, which keeps me going. But maybe that's just me. Who knows?
No, I definitely agree with you there. And it's interesting because of the 6 nominees in this category, Until You Fall is the only one that you could, describe as a traditional game. Yep. The other 5 are, if not focused on fitness, focused on movement. And I think Workout VR is obviously very fitness focused. It's in the name. Or is it Workout VR or VR Workout? I can't remember.
I think it's Workout VR.
Both.
It's one way around or the other. We'll double check, but
yeah. And then FitXR is one of the original fitness-focused VR games, originally known as Box VR. But I think they've renamed it, and I like this name better. It's a little more clear what it is. and they've added dancing and other things this year. And I like FitXR a lot. I think for me, sometimes if I'm playing a game like Beat Saber or Supernatural, it can be a little distracting if it's music and songs that I actually know, because I get caught up wanting to like sing along and stuff, and I'm less focused on the rhythm sometimes. So FitXR is usually more instrumental music with, like more guided things like punching and uppercuts and squats, and so I'm able to focus more on the fitness. I feel like for me, so I like that. And O shape is cool. I mean, you make your body fit into different shapes of walls that come by. It's like that one game show. What's it called? I can't remember the name. Yeah, I
Well,
can't remember the name. But
it's
there's
like
a
a
game show
human
that's
Tetris thing,
literally
isn't it?
this. Yeah, similar to Tetris. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a cool category. I think VR is being used for fitness and movement and exercise more and more, and I expect this category to be a mainstay of our awards going forward, probably. And we'll have to wait and see who wins. Let's move on to the next category, which is one I'm excited about. This is one that we've already discussed on the previous episode we had, I think just yesterday, or was it 2 days ago?
It was
Where we
Wednesday.
discussed the. It was 2 days ago. So if you missed it, you can watch for a lengthy hour-long discussion of this category. But it is most anticipated game coming up. Most of these games should come out in 2021. We're pretty sure. Some might get delayed. We don't know for sure, obviously. But the nominees for this category are Wraith: The Oblivion Afterlife, Mask Maker, a combo nominee here: Assassin's Creed VR and Splinter Cell VR, just because we don't really know anything about either of those other than that they exist. Then Lo-Fi, Elysia, and Sniper Elite VR. Those are our 6 nominees for most anticipated VR game coming up. And like I said, if you want to go back and watch our episode from Wednesday, we had a lengthy discussion of these 6 games, as well as I think 4 or 5 others that we're also excited about. But these are the ones that we have officially nominated that are coming out, probably all of these next year, if not, soon after. For me, I particularly want to call out a personal favorite on the list, and that's Elysia. Because if you follow me on Twitter, if you've known me for any length of time, you know that I love MMOs, I love RPGs, I love fantasy, all that stuff. I grew up playing games like EverQuest and Zelda, Elder Scrolls. All those games are like my favorites. So Elysia, I'm very excited about because it takes that old school fantasy aesthetic and puts it into a VR MMO with full body avatars, an intricate gear system, a massive world you can explore, and so I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a really nice mix of like big games and indie games. I mean, I'm personally excited for Mask Maker and Wraith very much. But I think between like Sniper Elite and the upcoming Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell games at the same time, there's some really interesting AAA content coming out as well. So I think it's going to be a big year, and it'll be fun to fight over who gets to win this category. I'm sure that will be tightly debated.
I think this is going to be one of the most contested ones for who we pick as the winner, because it's like everyone on the team has like 2 that they picked out as their choices essentially, and how do you resolve that? So I don't really know. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens.
Fight to the death.
If you want to take us to the next category.
Yeah, let's do it. We are moving on to Best Developer, and of course, this is just recognizing studios that maybe they didn't release the best game, maybe they didn't even release a game this year, but the work they've done in VR this year, whether it's like, announcing new features or maybe something they've done ethically, is really, really, really important. So the nominees for this are EA Motive, which obviously did Star Wars Squadrons, Skydance Interactive, the developer of Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Rust Limited, the developer of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades, Mirage Soft, the developer of Real VR Fishing, and Arvor, the developer of Pixel Ripped 1995. So there you go. There's some big names on there, some little names. Again, a mix of indies and mix of AAA. I think Skydance has had such an incredible year, not only delivering a really, really fantastic high-end PC VR title all the way back in January with The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, but then actually delivering on the promise to get it out on PSVR and Quest, and both of them be very, very high quality ports. I think that's a really, really interesting point. And also EA Motive, like a big studio inside a huge publisher that managed to get optional VR support into a huge AAA VR game was really incredible to see. And I'd love to know, how much of that was EA Motive saying this Squadrons has to have VR support, and talking it through with EA about the resources that would have to go into that versus EA coming to them and saying that. But really good category. I think Rust is actually in there for a second year in a row, just because H3VR just is such a constantly updated source of authentic gunplay. So I think we're more than happy to welcome it back into the category this year. Real VR fishing is such a phenomenal experience, such a realistic experience, I think. So I definitely think that's a great. And Arbor is a very interesting, mix of different things this year, right? Like we originally knew them for Pixel Rip, the first Pixel Rip game, and we got a sequel to that this year, but we also got some small VR movies from them, and there's more on the way as well. So they really keep themselves busy over there. So yeah.
Yeah, it's impressive with Arbor because they actually won an Emmy for The Line, which kudos to them. That's fantastic. And Pixel Ripped was great, like you said. And I also want to spotlight EA Motive again, because not only did they give VR support in Squadrons, but the game did so well that they released free DLC after saying they had no DLC plans. And it wasn't just a small update; it was 2 brand new ships, a brand new map, custom matches, new customization options. The amount of content they released for free was something that usually you would have to pay for in a AAA game. And so, this is a really good category this year. I think we have a good wide selection of types of studios, types of games, types of developer support. And it's a good testament to show that, you don't have to release nominees here. And let's move on to the next category. I think we are moving right along. Next up is the nominees for Best Cooperative Multiplayer, specifically Cooperative Multiplayer. Some of these games also have competitive options, but this award is going to go to someone that particularly has a very fun and very engaging cooperative multiplayer mode. So we have 5 nominees for this list. Those are Space Team VR, Cookout: A Sandwich Tale, Star Wars Squadrons, Real VR Fishing, and Path of the Warrior. So I want to speak on that last one specifically because you might remember Path of the Warrior actually released during the Game Awards last year in late 2019, but it launched without multiplayer. So this year they released the co-op, and it's an interesting situation because the co-op actually, to me, is what makes the game really quite fun. It's basically Streets of Rage in VR, first-person brawler, but whenever you play with someone else, it's a lot more fun. And so, that alone makes the game better. It's a fun time. It's a simple, mindless kind of beat 'em up fun, but it is fun. And Real VR Fishing kind of stretches the term cooperative multiplayer a little bit. It's more like cohabitating multiplayer. Basically, you can go on a fishing trip with friends. You can be side by side fishing together, but there's nothing that you're really doing to achieve a goal collectively. It's more, I'm fishing while my friend is next to me also fishing. But it's so immersive and so good, and it's so beautiful. I would even go so far as to say that Real VR Fishing might be the most impressive visually game on the Quest, especially on Quest 2. It is gorgeous. But we have some good nominees in this category. There's some good options for co-op out there.
Yeah, for sure. Towards my end of the screen, I really love Space Team and I really love Cookout. I think Cookout is a really, really, really solid Overcooked clone, and Space Team, you don't have to call it a clone because it is, just the VR version of an already brilliant mobile game. And I think developer Co-op Innovations, first of all, it's in their name, but second of all, they just They really came up with some really, really fantastic ideas that make the game native to VR. Like, it's not just shouting loud words, but you also have to like take out asteroids with laser pistols and like, actually physically fix your panel or throw things to your friends. So I think, there's some really, really good stuff in here. And it's again in this year with this pandemic, this is such a great thing to be doing with VR. And again, it lets us, connect with people in a bit closer than we can over webcams and phone calls. So these are definitely ones to check. To best competitive multiplayer, then. So obviously just similar sort of category, switching out co-op for competitive, and the nominees are Star Wars Squadrons again, Population 1, 11 Table Tennis VR, Beat Saber, and Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. So congratulations to everyone in this list. I feel like competitive VR multiplayer is really maturing this year, especially with the arrival of games like Population 1, which I feel like definitely delivered on the promise of a VR battle royale game. But then even as, games like 11 Table Tennis really evolved with their arrival on Quest, right? Because it just became that much more immersive. And someone like Ian, who absolutely loves playing table tennis, was finally able to take away that wire and have this very, very close to authentic experience. And I think that really, really counts for something. Of course, Squadrons, multiplayer is its bread and butter. And most people think that if you haven't tried Squadrons in VR, you haven't really played the game. And I would agree with that to some extent as well.
Yeah.
It really is
sure.
amazing. Yeah, it really is amazing playing Squadrons in that cockpit multiplayer experience. And it really, really is addictive. Of course, Beat Saber, I don't think we'll ever be able to have a year of VR awards nominations without Beat Saber being in there somewhere. But that came out like 2 or 3 months ago now, and I think people have been waiting for that for so long, and I don't think it disappointed. I don't know about you. I think people really enjoyed Beat Saber in multiplayer.
Yeah, it's interesting because they in order to achieve the cross-platform, access for multiplayer, they have their own avatar system, and so it's interesting that they went that route because in the base game there was never avatars before; it was always just disembodied floating sabers. So I think they've done a good job in terms of updating the game to accommodate that. You can do private multiplayer with just 1 or 2 friends. You can do public stuff against people. There's tons of songs in the game, so there's a lot of options for it. So it's impressive that it works as well as it does. And I think Population 1 is a game that people had their doubts about because it basically fell off the face of the earth for like a year and a half. We hadn't heard anything about it. I would email and ask for updates, and they would just say, nothing to share at this time. We had a demo for it scheduled at GDC almost 2 years ago that was canceled. I feared the worst for that game, but it turns out they were actually just working on Quest support, and the Quest version is basically 1-to-1 with the PC version. It looks and plays great, very smooth. You've got a full scale battle royale game, only around 16 people in a map, but it is it captures that thrill of battle royale that you get from games like PUBG and Fortnite and Warzone, but does it in VR. And specifically Medal of Honor, if you remember in my review, I gave this a 3 out of 5, which is not the highest score. But in our review discussion here on the download afterwards, I clarified that if I were to review only the multiplayer mode, I would probably give that a 4 out of 5 because the multiplayer is really good. It's very fun. The maps are fantastic. Gunplay feels good. It's accessible, but still realistic. I think they did a great job on that front, other than the lack of progression. But yeah, the multiplayer in Medal of Honor is actually really great. So kudos to all of these that got nominated for this category because it was definitely one of the more competitive categories on our list. We had a lot of trouble narrowing this one down. There's quite a few that we left off. So this is one of the tougher ones.
Speaking of,
so yeah, let's move right along. Oh,
yes,
sorry.
Well, no, what I was going to say was speaking of finding it tough to narrow categories down. Let's move on.
Oh yeah, the category where we've nominated 14 different games. No, I'm just kidding. But it feels like we almost did. There were so many. This category is the best Quest game / app. Obviously, a very hotly contested one because the Quest 2 launched this year. There's a lot of new games that came out. This is the year anniversary of the Quest platform. So it's really coming into its own. It's getting a lot of momentum. A lot of ports are coming out that are great. A lot of new exclusive games came out. So let's get right into it. The nominees for this category are The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners, Population 1, Echo VR, Ghost Giant, Onward, Until You Fall, In Death, Unchained, I think is the subtitle in that officially,
Yep.
and Five Nights at Freddy's VR: Help Wanted. Those are our nominees for this category. That is how many? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nominees for Best Quest Game. It was hard to even limit it to just 8. I mean, we had trouble with this one. There's so many good Quest games. Most of these we've already talked about a little bit, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But In Death, I want to call out because it is a VR roguelike, which is a genre you don't see in VR too often. But they've done an incredible job with their bow and arrow mechanics. And once it came to the Quest 2, it particularly really impressed us with how much wider the draw distance was, how much more detailed the environment was. It's a really great, impressive game, and I think the Quest version is the definitive version. So much so that the developer has stopped updating the other versions of the game. That's how much they are committed to the Quest version, which I mean, kind of sucks for people that bought it elsewhere. But the Quest version is really, really good of that game. And also, I will say Echo VR is quite impressive, just because it was kind of one of the marquee multiplayer titles on Rift for so long, and now it is on Quest, and it's the same game. It works so well. Not having a wire is amazing because that's a zero gravity frisbee game, so spinning around and doing stuff like that is so crucial. Great job from Ready at Dawn Studios on that one. We have a lot of good nominees in this category.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to say about it is the nice thing about this category is that we do get to recognize the really good port jobs that people have done over the past 12 months because, stuff like Ghost Giant and Onward, that's not stuff that's going to go down in our best games list, which we'll announce but people did incredible work getting those over to a standalone headset at the end of the day. So, as nice as it is to recognize some of the new Quest content, some of those ports really, really do deserve to be in this category. So congrats to everyone that got in there. Moving on, I am going to announce the best PC VR game/app, which is going to be an exciting one because it's been a big year for lots of really big AAA releases, some of which I'm sure you don't need reminding about, including a game like Half-Life Alyx, The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners, Star Wars Squadrons, Population 1, and Thief Simulator. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like when you look out at other VR award categories that other websites and like last week's Game Awards are doing, there's some of the big tentpole titles are here. Like Squadrons was very much recognized everywhere. Walking Dead was very much recognized everywhere, and of course, Alyx has been already pretty successful at VR-based awards. But it's nice for us to be able to do this because we get to recognize some of the stuff that maybe hasn't been recognized elsewhere. I will say we've got Microsoft Flight Sim up here, which we've put here provisionally. It's coming out next week, and we kind of have it here just as a placeholder slot right now because we love the original game. We think it's fantastic, and if the VR version works very, very well, it will be a no-brainer for this category. But that's only if, and we'll update this if we think that's something we should take out. But yeah, again, Population 1. Something that I think is really good to put in there. I think that's done a great job of kind of replicating the Fortnite game loop for VR, and Thief Simulator, I think, has been doing a really, really fantastic job throughout its early access period and then coming out properly on Steam this year. Another great example of like kind of a more indie, obscure VR title that's actually really showing what the platform can do. So yeah, definitely a really nice list of games.
Yeah, I'm excited for Microsoft Flight Sim because I've said before several times that I'm not much of a simulation gamer. I don't play flight sims really. I don't play racing sims. I don't play that kind of stuff. But whenever it comes to VR, I make an exception because if I'm playing on a monitor or on a TV, I get a little frustrated usually because I'm just not good enough to actually play well and have it be realistic. But if I'm in a VR headset using like a HOTAS or using a wheel or something like that, then the novelty of how realistic it is makes up for the fact that I wouldn't play it as a video game. Like it approaches true simulation, and so that's why a game like Flight Sim in VR is appealing to me. But I would never play that on my computer without VR.
Yeah, for sure.
Star Wars Squadrons, on the other hand, it's kind of that middle ground where it's like fulfills that Star Wars, sci-fi fantasy of flying an X-wing, but then it just makes it better because you're in VR, and so that one was a lot of fun. I think of all the games I've reviewed this year, I probably had the most fun reviewing Star Wars Squadrons. Walking Dead was mostly stressful to review, but it was an amazing game. But Star Wars Squadrons is a game that I had a smile on my face pretty much the whole time I was playing that, and so it was just a lot of fun. So we have a great selection of games here, a lot of diversity, like you said, AAA stuff. We have some stuff that people have maybe never even heard of or seen or played, and so it's a good selection.
Yeah, for sure.
Which brings us to our next category. This was another one that was, I think one of these nominees shouldn't be on.
Oh
this
yeah,
list.
for sure. That's meant to be.
I don't think that's a PSVR
That's meant to
game.
be the other Star Wars title.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Anyway, so this is best PSVR game or app. Sorry, I think my Google's trying to talk to me.
Quite Google.
Yeah, so the nominees for this list, best PSVR, are Dreams, Iron Man VR, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, Star Wars Squadrons, Vader Immortal, and Pixel Ripped 1995. Those are our nominees for best PSVR. Out of all of these, I think the one that I probably spent the most time with in terms of reviewing and covering was Iron Man. I did the review for that one, and it surprised me. I had my doubts because we've played plenty of licensed tie-in VR games that are 1 or 2 hours long and just kind of barely flirt with the idea of being an actual game. And Iron Man wasn't like that. It was a full game. I want to say it was like 12 hours long or something like that. Had a great story, really, interesting story, great voice acting, fun combat. It really, the cliche phrase would be it really made you feel like Iron Man. So it did a great job. And like you said earlier, Walking Dead, excellent port. Star Wars Squadrons, still fun on PSVR. It's better on PC, but it was still fun on PSVR. So we have some really good games here. I think the PSVR, with the PS5 launching, it's kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit. It's not, top of mind for Sony anymore until the next headset, fingers crossed, but it still had some good games come out this year.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to give a shout out to Dreams. I think what that game did was pretty incredible. I know that it wasn't perhaps the smoothest integration we were hoping to see, but still you can go into Dreams now, and once you're through the settings, you've done the tutorial and everything, there's a ton of really, really cool user-made VR content in Dreams. It really is a pretty magical platform. Pixel Ripped continues to deliver as a brilliantly nostalgic series, and I think it finds a really nice home on PlayStation VR. And Vader Immortal, arriving as that full Star Wars package that you could buy as just one thing, I think was really satisfying for people, especially getting to play the lightsaber dojo and everything like that. So, I agree it's been like a weird year for PSVR, but I still think Sony's expertise in making a content library really puts it up there with the other two headsets still. And I'm hopeful that can continue into New Year. So, moving on, we are getting down to like the last 4, I think, categories now. And we're about to announce one of my favorite ones, which is most immersive moment. So this is talking about specific moments in games and apps that we really, really, really felt like we were there. The design was so convincing that I genuinely forgot I was in a room and felt like maybe I was talking to a virtual character or I was right in the middle of an action sequence. So the nominees for that are going to be Half-Life Alyx's Jeff level. The first time you kill a zombie in The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Your first ghost encounter in Phasmophobia. The entire cockpit experience in Star Wars Squadrons, Quest multiplayer in 11 table tennis VR, and avoiding your angry mother in Pixel Rip 1995, and learning to paddle in Phantom Covert Ops. So again, this is a really, really cool category because it allows us to be very diverse. And, maybe if games were built around like a singular type of experience that stretched across 3 or 4 hours, we didn't feel like was worth putting in a best game list. We definitely felt like that core experience was done so well that it gets a spot here. And I definitely want to call out Phantom to that point. I think Phantom is so incredibly intelligently designed for VR. So if you don't know that one, that's you're sitting in a kayak and it's a stealth game. You paddle through the water. You have kind of all the weapons you need located on the kayak. And it's just such a clever way of moving about in VR and fully immersive right the way through. But specifically, as you learn to play right at the start of the game, you're given this lovely long stretch of river to get through. And it's just one of those real wow moments. You're sitting there thinking, Dreams, the developer, has just thought about this so hard, and I think it really paid off. The Jeff level in Half-Life Alyx, let's not get into spoilers because I did that once in the studio and people weren't very happy with me. But if you haven't played Half-Life Alyx yet, there's a certain point in the campaign with a certain character that is just absolutely mind-blowing. Squadrons, of course, just complete wish fulfillment to open your eyes to like an X-Wing cockpit or a TIE fighter cockpit. And those were incredibly detailed settings at the end of the day, and you could customize them a little bit if you wanted as well. That was just fulfilling everyone's dreams, really. And I'd be remiss not to talk about The Walking Dead personally again, because I mean, if you haven't seen on YouTube, we made a video compilation of gory kills on Walking Dead that actually, as funny as it is, just also really demonstrates the powerful physics system they have in that game. And I think I love going back into that world, and really, more than any other VR game I've played, I feel like I have hands in The Walking Dead, and I feel like I'm picking things up in The Walking Dead. So yeah, the first time you kill a zombie, you really get a sense of that because you shove a knife into a zombie's head and it doesn't come out straight away, and it responds to wherever you drag it. Just incredible feel. I know that you're very keen on Phasmophobia for this one.
Oh yeah, I think the scariest VR game I've ever played, I think, is probably still Resident Evil 7 on PSVR. Maybe there are moments in The Exorcist that really kind of get up there as well. But Phasmophobia, for a game that is purely, kind of a mission-based small sandbox game where it's not, like a linear storyline. It's kind of session-based, focused on multiplayer. But whenever you have your first encounter with a ghost in that game, like you think you've done everything right, you think you're prepared, you have your flashlight, you've got your your crucifix, you've got all your gear with you, you're ready, you have a camera, and then the lights start to flicker, then the sound changes, it sounds like the air was sucked out of the room. You can just feel the presence of a paranormal spirit, and they've done such an incredible job. Like, just describing it right now, thinking about it, the hair on my arm is starting to stand up. Like, it's such a tense game, and the first time you go through that it is impossible to describe and do it justice. So I would highly recommend playing this game in VR if you can. I think it's full price is only like $14. Like, it's very reasonably priced, and they're very aware of the amount of content in it. And then Pixel Ripped I want to highlight because the whole game is about being a kid in the 90s again. And so for me, someone that was born in 1990, obviously, like, all of the scenes in this game were just remembering specific memories from my life. The one in particular that we called out for this award is whenever you're up late playing a game in your bedroom. It's kind of like a Castlevania clone, and you're sitting there playing it on the TV, and your mom, if you make too much noise, like if you die, the game makes a really loud sound effect that alerts your mom, and she turns the hall light on and comes into the room to see if you're asleep or not. And so if that happens, you have to quickly like put the controller down, turn off the TV, and pretend to be sleeping. And the character's name in the game is David. So it was just such a cool moment. Like Arvor has done a really great job with that series. I can't wait to see where they go next. But I like this award a lot because you don't see awards like this in non-VR gaming award, because it's like, oh, every game is kind of immersive, I guess. But no, like whenever you're designing for VR, making it as immersive as possible is so important. And so I think highlighting these types of moments is really fun. And the next one, down to just 3 categories left. The next is Best So this would be like a non-gaming thing. Best experience in VR. We have 6 nominees for this. We have Paper Beast. We have is it Paper Birds? Paper Birds. Is that what the? Oh wait, you can't hear me? Oh, Jamie is the one that's not connected. Can you hear me, Heaney? Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll go over the nominees for best experience. I think we meant to write Paper Birds on our notes, but it says Paper B. I could be wrong. Gloomy Eyes, The Line, which won an Emmy, The Key. Oh wait, we have Paper Birds on here down here, so I think Paper B should be left off. And then The Underpresents, The Tempest. Those are our nominees for best VR experience. And of these, I think the only one that I've really spent much time with is The Line. That's the one that won the Emmy from Arvor. That one is a really cool kind of diorama, sort of little like storybook type experience. I think they did a great job with that. And Underpresents is by Tender Claws, the same developer as Virtual Reality. And this is basically like a live theater experience. And it's really impressive because it kind of, makes you feel like you're experiencing sort of a live theater moment. It's based on a Shakespeare play, and I think they did a great job there. Gloomy Eyes has a lot of Tim Burton sort of influences. You can tell just from the image here if you're watching on YouTube. But I definitely recommend checking Gloomy Eyes out. I think last year we gave I can't remember who won last year, but another one is Wolves on the Walls. That one's been nominated before. It wasn't a brand new experience, but I think it launched on Quest recently, so recommend checking that out too. But these are some really good experiences that we have nominated. I think VR is impressive because you have the ability to have things like this because on a PS5 or on a Xbox or whatever, you probably wouldn't get too many experiences like this. But in VR, because of the way the medium works, it's so much more immersive, and you have the potential to tell stories in unique ways. So I think separating these out into their own category for the awards is really cool, and I something like this. I think Jamie is going to be trying to reconnect at the moment, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next category. These are our last 2 categories for nominees. This next one is Best Hardware, and we have 4 pieces of hardware nominated in this category. The first, of course, is Oculus Quest 2, which launched this year, the HP Reverb G2 PC VR headset, the Pico Neo 2i specifically, and the PlayStation 5 console. Those are our 4 nominees for best hardware for VR this year. Specifically, I'll call out the PS5 because I reviewed that for UploadVR. Initially at launch, it wasn't that compelling for PSVR owners because basically no games had any updates that really showed much of an improvement visually. It does cut down on load times a lot. So I tested a lot of different games like Skyrim, Resident Evil 7, Iron Man, and many of those games, the load times were cut in half, sometimes more. So it did a great job there. And examples like Blood and Truth have shown that developers can push their games even further on PS5, even without releasing a PS5 version of that game. So the fact that it's backwards compatible like that, and the console itself is so much better, and it has so many great non-VR titles as well. We made sure to nominate it in this category. And I'm noticing a lot of similarities in color scheme here. There's a lot of white on black.
We finally made that transition.
Are you back right, now, actually. Jamie?
Yeah, can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. Obviously, we have the HP Reverb G2. Oh, you can hear him. Oh, I can't hear Jamie at all. Okay, so Jamie, if you want to talk about the rest of these and give me a thumbs up,
I'll give you. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, it's been a big year for Quest 2, obviously. I think such an important headset that's really going to drive the industry going forward. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what people can do with it going forward into 2021. I mean, it's quickly establishing itself as the main VR platform. which really means that we're going to see developers really trying to, push the limits of the chip, and reach out and see what they can do with the hand tracking, and maybe we'll see that in some deeper experiences. Obviously, hugely important in terms of, just simple things like the fact it's pretty cheap for a VR headset. It's got a great screen. They were doing really amazing things, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Reverb G2, obviously incredible screen clarity. I did a full review of that, which I think, people maybe weren't so happy with the tracking, but maybe if you're a really hardcore VR user that plays lots of simulation games, maybe you're using a joystick more than you are a controller, definitely a very interesting one as well to keep track of. So yeah, smaller category this year, not as many releases, but definitely think that'll be a fun one to judge. And now I'm going to give a thumbs up to David.
All right. So now the last category for us is going to be best overall VR game of the year. This is the big one, boys and girls, cats and dogs. This is the one everyone's been waiting for. What is the best VR game of the year according to UploadVR? And we have quite a selection here of amazing games. Looks like how many? We have 6 nominees in this category. I'll go through them now. We've got Half-Life Alyx. We've got The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Population 1, Star Wars Squadrons, Until You Fall, and The Room VR: A Dark Matter. Unsurprisingly, every one of these has been nominated for at least one other award as well. As you would expect, when a game is great, it's often great in multiple ways. So that's not too surprising. I think Half-Life is nominated for, I don't remember, Walking Dead, Squadrons. Those 3 have been nominated multiple times. They're easily 3 of the best of the year, but then Population 1 also has such great competitive multiplayer, great shooting. It's just pure fun, simple and easy to get into, jump in, jump out. Also, particularly, I want to mention, there's so many VR multiplayer games that don't land whenever it comes to easily playing with friends. They don't have a party system, they don't have an invite system, they don't, whatever the case may be, they have you create a server and then send a code to a friend and have people join. That's the case with Phasmophobia, with Onward, with Contractors. Even Arizona Sunshine still uses the same format. And so it was great to have a game that actually uses and correctly deploys a party system. That was fantastic. So Population 1 did that very well. Until You Fall, we talked about this. We talked about all these games, but the one that we talked about the least so far is The Room VR: Dark Matter, which was also nominated for, I think, most immersive, or was it best design? I can't remember. But we had this nominated already. It's, if you remember the mobile puzzle games, The Room, it's a whole series of mobile games, and they've adapted it now to VR. And you might think, oh, it's just a mobile game ported over to, no, but this is an original game made just for VR. And they did an incredible job with it. If you like games like Myst or, I Expect You to Die, or any of those kind of puzzle-centric games, The Room VR is fantastic. It's quite long. It's very involved. Some of the puzzles are very difficult. It's got a really interesting, captivating story. Some of the most beautiful environments you'll see, especially if you play on Quest. It's really impressive looking. It's a great game. So I'm really happy we're able to nominate that for best game. And so I think the mics are still broken, Jamie, so I can't hear you. But I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about the rest of these, and you can wrap us up as well. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, well, I definitely want to take a time to talk a little bit about Alyx, because we have nominated that across a lot of categories, but I don't think we've actually talked about that too much. Obviously, phenomenal AAA experience. And I think that's a really important release for this year. Valve did a really good job delivering on the hype for that game. The production values off the charts, absolutely delivered on, a lengthy adventure. And then we mentioned a bit earlier about like the Russell's gloves and how intuitive those are for VR. We talked a little bit about the Jeff level and just how memorable that is. But just as a complete package, I think it really delivered. So definitely a very strong contender in this category. And Until You Fall, I've been playing a heck of a lot this year. So I'm stoking the fire for that one a bit. But yeah, to David's point, that is our full list of 16 categories and all the nominations involved. Congratulations to everyone nominated. Maybe you were watching, maybe you found out, maybe you'll never find out. Who knows? But we're really, really happy to be able to showcase such a diverse selection of work over, such a strange but also exciting year that 2020 has been. We will be announcing these winners later this month. We are hoping to do this after Christmas. We're not going to give an exact date yet because who knows what could happen next week. Like we said, we've still got Microsoft Flight Simulator to try out, so we're gonna be going hands on with that soon and hopefully seeing what that's like. But yes, we'll be revealing these in a couple of weeks' time. We'll have loads of cool coverage about all of these games, and then we'll be doing some updates to our 25 best games list again. So that pretty much rounds out our winter wrap-up week. That's a full week of content. If you haven't seen, go over to our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe, hit notifications, but then look back at some of the things we've done today. We revealed 6 minutes of gameplay from Sam and Max VR, which is really, really cool. We've also got exclusive debuts for Wraith and the Wizard's Dark Times. Lots of really, really cool content to check out there. But apart from that, we're pretty much done here. So I'm going to wave and hope David realizes I'm waving. There he goes. He knows. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you soon.